Scooter going on her bike ride. This is my scooter. It needs some new tires, especially on the back. See that? That's not good. That means it's worn out. 4,600, almost 4,700 miles on it. (2013 to 2015) Honda service manual. It says rear wheel removal. And you're going to remove the bracket bolts. There it is. Book said was replace the gasket. I don't see a gasket here, and I don't see a gasket there. So it looks like there wasn't even any type of gasket on this, because I don't have that one. And as you can see, when I was trying there early, started to strip that a little bit by trying to do it with the crescent wrench. So time to go get some tools. So it was 8 o'clock when we started. Now it's 9 o'clock after an hour trip to Walmart. You know, I started working on this nut. They tell you everything in the book except for what size it is. I think they tell you the thread diameter is 16 millimeter, but they don't tell you that it's a 22 or 23. So I mean, all I had up here was this Craftsman set I got when I was a kid. It only goes up to I think 13/16 on the 1/2-inch drive and on the 3/8 drive. No big metric sockets there. I looked at some tire irons. I didn't have any here, but I looked at some at Walmart. They did 2 English system sizes, and then on the metric side I think they had a 20 and a 22. Well, it turns out this thing's a 23 or a 24, so I got this set with a 24, and that 24 seems to work. Might be a little bit of play in there, but I think a 23 would also be too small, so I think that's the one to use. Now see here we have the rear axle nut. Tells you the thread diameter in millimeters, the torque, some remarks, but nowhere does it tell you that you need a 24 millimeter wrench. And I just watched 2 other videos on Honda Metropolitans, little older years. Both of them, they use 22 millimeter, and that seems to make more sense because 22 millimeter is a size that is usually found on cars, and that is on those breaker bars and the other X-shaped bars used to remove lug nuts from cars. But this appears to be a 23 or 24. I don't have a 23. I'm worried the 24 might be too loose, but here's a 22 that I just got in this set. And as you can see, there is no way that that's a 22. Don't know about 23 because I don't have a 23, but this is a 24 and it fits on, and there's just a tiny little bit of play in that. So that's what I'm gonna have to use. Hopefully it won't strip it, and we'll see how it goes. Of course, had to run to Walmart. We got back whenever it was, around 8 or whatever, and I had picked up this Stanley set for about 15 or 20 bucks, which had a, you know, every size, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up through 20, then it goes 21, 22, 24. So since realized, I guess 23 is not a size that anybody uses. 24 is bigger than you see often, but fortunately this set had one. Of course, it is this star pattern inside of here. Instead of just being a hex, it has all these little stars, which I don't know. I guess the point of that is it's easier to get on and off, but it seems like there'd be less contact points there, so that's the only option they had. I went to Home Depot on my next little trip because I knew I was going to need something bigger than this because I couldn't get the nut broken loose with this setup. So picked up this nice heavy duty pipe. So I figure I'll stick this in here. You know, it'd be nice if I could have used the tire iron I have, but of course those only go up to 22. Most cars only go up to 22 at the max, and for whatever reason they started putting a 24 on here. So I don't quite get, I mean, you wonder why nobody works on anything anymore. You wonder why we're a disposable society. You wonder why guys like me just call the plumber or call the mechanic when something needs fixed rather than learning to do it ourselves. I mean, as you can see here, I have a basic toolkit. I got your basic sockets, your basic screwdrivers, wrenches, some specialized bike tools because I do work on my bikes quite a bit. But I mean, shouldn't need this many rare and specialized tools. I mean, I don't have an air compressor. I don't have a impact ratchet. You'd think whoever designed these things would design them so that you could use the same tools you use to work on a common Honda automobile to remove your Honda scooter wheel, but no. So we're gonna try it with this setup now and see what happens. In to take a look at the old YouTube, see why I'm having such problems here, and everybody says, oh yeah, you know, it's a 19 millimeter or it's a 22 millimeter, and you just get your impact wrench and your air compressor and you fire it up and you just take it off. Well, I don't have that. The thing I could find was I saw a guy who recommended pushing on the scooter with his arms while he pushed back on this with his foot. Let's see how that method works for us here. Hope you got that, YouTube. I hope you got that. There it is. That was started about 7 this morning. It's now almost lunchtime, and we got the wheel off. Now, for most of the videos I've watched, we get to what most people say is the hard part, which is getting the tire off. So if it took me most of the morning to get the wheel off, I'm imagining this is going to be a whole new adventure. Fortunately, I did find some tire irons, so I won't be going at it with just screwdrivers. Some new valves in it. If you look in there, there's a little bit of dust. You know, in Florida, so it's mostly flat. I'm not taking this thing up and down any major hills. It looks like there's still some width on there. Let's see what the manual says about the width of this brake and the width of the pads. But when it's on, you look here. If the indicator aligns with the triangle, then you got to inspect the brake drum. Then if the drum is within the service limit, you replace the shoe. So I'm sure my drum is fine. I don't see any damage or any reason to believe anything wrong there. I haven't been having any trouble with the brakes. And you can probably, let me see if I can focus here. So there you see when you pull the brake, this little thing comes down, and if it comes down further than the little triangle here, then you know you have a problem with either your rotor or your pads. And brake cuts. I don't want to get around that valve. There it is. Definitely needed to be removed. Got some spots there where that's an 80 by 100 by 10 46J. This looks a lot bigger, but it is an 80 by 100 by 10 46J. That looks like a significantly bigger tire. So apparently that's all just wear, but man, that new tire looks a lot wider, a lot bigger. I was just looking to see if any of these things I bought 3 different sizes of these. This is the TR414, just in case I would have damaged this, to look and see if any of them would have fit. I mean, that's probably the closest, but this is way too long. These are only a couple bucks each, so I just bought them just to have them, but this one's the 413, I mean, that's pretty close, still longer than it needs to be. Now this 415 looks to be closer to the correct length. However, I think the round part is way too big to fit down in the wheel, so if I had to put this in, I'd probably be putting the 413 in. Look at that. What most guys have easy, which is getting the wheel off, was a hell of a time for me. What most guys seem to struggle with, trying to work on their workbench, or vice grips, or having to use twist ties and so forth, that part was actually pretty easy for me. Of course, I don't want to speak too soon, because we're not out of the woods yet. We got to get this bead seated on here, and we've also got to be able to pump this up. I think that's where some guys come into the zip tie trick, which is to get this tire smashed down and get that bead seated. Because that's another thing, again, I don't have the impact wrench, I don't have the compressor, so to get this thing to pop out and seat could be tricky. Again, Honda, you know, for people that don't have an air compressor, how are you supposed to get any type of pump on that? With only that much clearance there. Come on, guys. Surprisingly, it's holding pressure. There it went. That bead just popped in. Let's see if we can get it to pop on the other side. There it went. I'll be damned. About 26 PSI in there. What is it supposed to take? Rear tire. 29 PSI cold. Take it up a little more here. Wipe my fingers off. That on. That's why that thing's so snug. It has those little things on the outside there that really torque it. They really cause it to be torqued on there tight so it doesn't accidentally come off. Replacing, I guess that's what they call the gasket, but I mean that thing looks fine, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stick it back in. push the tablet speedometer cable and disconnect it from the brake. Remove the O-ring. There it is.
And I've been saying for months that you need new tires on this thing.
So the way this should work, when you pull the front brake, you just get front brake. When you pull the rear brake, you get a little bit of front with it. While we're working on her, we might as well change the oil. It says change the engine oil with the engine warm and the scooter on dry go. So might as well go warm it up. There's where the dipstick came out. There's the dipstick. When it's full, the oil should be between the top and the bottom. So that is a 17. Oh, there it is. You see it? Not sure how that got away from me. case needs 0.7 liters after draining. So 1 quart, 946 milliliters. I need 700 milliliters. There needs to be 246 left when I'm done dumping this in. So I want 246 left, or about 250 left. Good.